Hello, you're welcome. This is Moment for Thought. I am Aliyu Baba Barrow. When you talk about democracy, you talk about the institutions of governance. The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, and of course, the fourth estate, which is the media. And operationally, actually, those three institutions are to relate between and among themselves. At the national level, as we operate federal structure, we have a bicameral legislature. At the state level, we have those three institutions, that is the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And lots of of contention has been coming up in the democratic arena when the discourse of operations of democracy come to the fore. The issue of relationship between the state government, the third tier of government, which is the local government. But today we are discussing the relationship or the interrelationship among the three institutions of governance, especially at the state level. Against the backdrop of what the recent development when Mr. President came up with the Executive Order 10, and you're talking about financial autonomy to the legislature and of course to the judiciary at the state level, so that the functions of democracy will yield dividends for the people and of course to have a smooth relationship, as it were. You're welcome. I have with me distinguished Nigerians to have a discussion on this. I have Senator Ita Enang, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, and Secretary, Presidential Implementation Committee on Financial Autonomy for Judiciary and Legislature. And Dr. Mainasara Kogo Umar, International Analyst on Democracy, Good Governance, and Nation Building. He is a lawyer by profession, just as distinguished Senator Ita Enang. You're welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Doctor.
Welcome.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, do I call you the darling of the media? You see, and I'm just like my colleague, but the other guest, Dr. Mainasara Kogo, because of the matter of the moment.
Yeah.
You served as a legislator. You started from the grassroots, from local government system
Yes.
to state, and of course to the national. If not the only of one of those that have served in the legislature in this country, the highest period of time in serving the nation, I suppose.
Thank you very much.
Good. You are in the right place. I
Thank
remember Mrs. Zabardaya say you are in the right place.
Yes. I'm in the right place.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Let me start with you. In governance, let's discuss governance, democratic governance, which you've tested the executive, the legislature, and now you are part of the executive. You are even a presidential liaison officer at the National Assembly. How do you see democracy in Nigeria? For far too long, people say we are still, is it crawling? We are still trying to appreciate what is democracy. What is the relationship among these three tiers of governance?
Well, I think Nigerians have always made a mistake of saying it is a nascent democracy.
Yes.
I want to say that after 21 years of democracy, you no more can be nascent democracy. Those children that were born in 1999 when this democracy started, at least this particular republic started, they have graduated and they're looking for work now because it's 21 years. They have graduated from the time we started in the National Assembly in 1999. So our democracy is no more nascent. The trouble our democracy is having is that since 1999, Constitution granted autonomy to the federal, to the judiciary and the legislature at the federal level. It granted the same autonomy to the judiciary and the legislature at the state level. It is only the federal level that has practiced this autonomy. And given the legislature its due autonomy, given the judiciary its due autonomy. And of course, I think it started sometimes in 2002, 2003, when we passed a bill and allowing direct transfer of funds from the Consolidated Revenue Fund by the Accountant General, to the legislature according to the budget, and to the judiciary according to the budget.
Yes.
Now, but you don't have that at the state level. That is why in this dispensation, after the President Muhammadu Buhari, God bless his actions, and the entire judiciary in the country, the entire Houses of Assembly in the country, the entire Nigerians are very appreciative of what he has done. He says, look, treat the Houses of Assembly in your state the way I treat the House of Representatives and the Senate. Treat the judiciary in your state the way I treat the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, Federal High Court, National Industrial Court, Federal Capital, High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, and all the other courts. And he says, look, there is a constitutional amendment which says that the money that is meant for that tier of government should go directly to that tier of government. You are not obeying it properly. And the governor said, and it appeared that their excuse was that there were no procedure for doing it. So Mr. President now issued Executive Order 10. And the Executive Order 10 first is not making a new law.
Yes.
I repeat, it's not making any law. It's simply saying this law that is in existence in the Constitution, to make it come into effect, what I expect you to do, it is appropriate to execute it in this manner. 1, you shall have a budget for each arm of government. 2, when the budget is due, it shall be presented to the House of Assembly. When the House of Assembly passes the budget, the Accountant General of the state shall, whenever money comes into the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the state, transfer the money that is meant to the House of Assembly in the budget, pro rata to the House of Assembly, through the clerk account of the clerk, through the account of the House of Assembly, which the clerk of the House of Assembly is the accounting officer. Transfer that of the judiciary to the chief registrar of the state high court, and they will share it to the heads of court as it is. So that, and again, give at least the first 3 months, the first 3 years, since the judiciary at the state level, in every state, has been so punished, so traumatized, so beaten, give them extra budgetary allocation for capital project. Let them come up and start as an arm of government.
An institution. Yes. Well, Dr. Minister, before you've had it, let's take a look at democracy generally, the issue of this executive order, and the functions of the constitution and democratic governance. Why is it new to us, so to speak, as some people want to take it?
It's not that new to us, like distinguished Senator said. Section 14, subsection 1 of the Constitution predicates that democracy should be the type of system under which we should govern the country. And under that democracy, the important thing is the interest of the citizenry, the common man, those electors that will elect you people into power. Now, in order to bring safeguard, the Constitution now decided, okay, power should not be absolutely concentrated under one particular institution. Section 5 says that the executive should implement whatever the legislators have provided. And then Section 6 says the judicature, the judiciary, should adjudicate if there is any area of dispute. And at the same time, the same Constitution takes into cognizance the dimension, the structural dimension in Nigeria, by making provision in Section 3 of the Constitution for the 3 tiers of governance. For the purpose of checks and balances, there should be separation of powers. Now, where in the Constitution you are having these 3 tiers of the government, then there must be a leader. And that is the reason why Section 130 comes into being, saying that the President is the Chief Executive Officer, is the principal officer of the Federation of Nigeria. Or where there is controversy or lack of understanding of any issue, the President should come in by pronouncements of executive orders so that things will be straightened in the interest of decorum, in the interest of excellence, in the interest of delivery of service for the citizenry. And that is the reason why, if you look at it, all the democracies of the world, for example, we got the genesis of it from the United States. It all started from the United States on the 8th day of June in 1789, when Sir George Washington pronounced Executive Order Number 1. And since then, we continued having executive orders, series of executive orders. For example, in 1995, when the American Senate refuses to approve the United States to go for war in Kosovo, President Bill Clinton used executive order. Even in Nigeria, for example, we have it. The most remarkable one even was the one that President Abraham Lincoln enacted, which talks about equality of human beings, equality of the blacks and the whites, equality of everybody, equality of whosoever is there in the world, because we are all from one source. And that one was extrapolated by the United Nations, and it formed the bedrock of the fundamental rights we are having. Even at the level of the African continent, we saw reason in that. That is why in section 719, subsection 1 of the African Union Articles, it is provided that the heads of states, the leaders of the countries within the African sub-region, should from time to time be bringing in orders to bring filling up the gaps, such gaps that are not comprehensive and absolute in our judicature, in our constitution, is they should be bringing them from time to time. And it is in that context the president decided, say, okay, for us to have sanity, for us to have a robust entrenchment of democratic dividends, these powers should be separated. I remember in the Second Republic, for example, when these powers were clearly separated, those governors that decided to go too excessive or too rigid, contrary to the democratic norms, got themselves impeached by the legislature, which is different scenario in the current dispensation, because the governor is the one holding the stream of the governance, which is money. The governor is the one, it is at the whims and caprices of his interest to decide what to give who, when, where, and how much. So as a result of which you discover that there is virtually no dictum of checks and balances, and virtually the separation of power among the institutions at the state level.
Yes, what the distinguished senator said earlier, you talk about that Mr. President said, I can be doing the real democratic tenets, practicing the real democratic tenets on these checks and balances, treating treating each tiers of government on its own, while the state does a different thing entirely. There's collaboration now, there's harmony. This will create all these kind of things, and it will permeate down, goes down to the local government level.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it will go down to the local government level. The way it will go down to the local government, you know, the local government has been granted autonomy, but that autonomy has not been allowed to be operative. And that is why we have the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit that now monitors, although they have not been very successful directly getting. But for the judiciary, remember that this amendment to the Constitution, which says that the money meant for the judiciary should go directly to the heads of those courts, and the money meant for the legislature should go to the legislature directly, was passed in 2017. In fact, it was earlier there. We simply relifted it so that we give it a more recent standing, because the governors wouldn't allow it work or operate. So Mr. President felt that if other presidents allowed it to be like this, and because when things are wrong, Nigerians say President Buhari, they call him names, because even if it is something that is wrong in a local government. And so Mr. President said, look, I cannot be sitting as president of the country, and every person I swore to protect and defend, if you are under the bondage of the local government, I will come and defend you. If I've given money to the state government and it is not treating the judiciary well, it is not treating the House of Assembly well, it is not allowing the House of Assembly to do what it should do for the purpose of bettering your standing, I will ensure that that does not happen. And that is why Mr. President said, like, this law is here. This law does not have legs or hands that it can stand up on its own and go and implement itself. Governors, please, this is how you are going to implement this. Yes, some people have said wrongly that it is the business of the governors because there is a federation. We are running a federation. No. Yes, it is the business of the governors, but it is the bigger business of the president, whom these people will always call and shout upon that you have not done this, you have not done this.
Yes, yeah.
Look at small roads. The local governments don't do. State governments don't do. But when it is the public wants to complain, they will say
Buhari.
President Buhari. Therefore, the president had to take up the challenge and now say, this is how you would do. If you do not give the monies of the state government to the state government, or the money of the local government, if you do not give the money of the judiciary. To the judiciary, or you do not give the money of the legislature at the state to the legislature, if I am aware, or the implementation committee is aware, then we will get the Accountant General of the Federation to deduct the amount standing to the credit of that arm of government in your state account, in the next federation account allocation exercise, deducted by the Accountant General of the Federation and remitted directly to the account of that arm of government, whether it is the judiciary of that state or the legislature of that state. The most important thing for us to hear here, to not hear for the excellencies, we respect them so much, the governors, the executive governors, is that this action is not the first action. It doesn't activate itself on its own. It is if you fail. If you fail. And let me say that, please, our governors, there are 3 arms of government. There is one government in every state. The government is headed by the governor. Next is the legislature, headed by the speaker. Next is the judiciary, headed by the chief judge of the state. Now, it is the collectivity of these 3 of them that makes a government. Therefore, what we've done, I want to say what Mr. President has done, is not challenging the powers of the governors. No. It's not overreaching. No. It's not descending into the affairs of the government of the state. No. He swore to protect and defend the Constitution, and he swore to protect and defend every citizen of the Federal Republic. He swore to defend and uphold, not just to uphold. So if you breach it, he will uphold it. If you are dissatisfied with the way he has upheld it, you can approach the court.
Approach the court. Yes, we're talking about your contributions in the arena of national discourse.
Yes.
Democracy, good governance, and nation building. Many people thought that if we leave things to go the way they are going, that's political expediency, so that we have good democratic tenets. But to many, again, they say, no, we have to streamline things and put things in the right perspective. How will this augur well to the operations of governance, especially as the judiciary? I remember immediately Muhammad Buhari, the president, came to power. He talked about the issue of cleansing the judiciary. This could be part of it, so that they have autonomy and do things for themselves. And the issue of legislature. Will this development now augur well towards really developing the development of democracy in its functionality?
There must be a leader in the democratic setting. Like I said, under Section 130, the president is the leader. He has been given enormity of all these powers in order to really be the shepherd, to guide us into the developmental point that we aspire to, as per the party's manifesto, as per the vision and mission of the Constitution, and as per the provision of Sections 23 of the Constitution that talks about national ethics. National ethics, respect to seniority. The governors must be able to respect the federal arm of the government. In other words, the president. As much as there is a provision in Section 7 of the Constitution that talks about the local government structure, but they have a latitude there whereby they are having some regulatory control. But nevertheless, never mind in that, the federation should be respected in line with our national ethics. It's clear, by virtue of the constitutional provision, the federation is the one to sanitize the way things should go on, so that at the end of it, they will say the democratic, presidential democratic experience under President Muhammad Muhammadu Buhari. Like my brother always say, they will always say President Buhari, President Buhari. Even before now, remember during the Second Republic, President Shehu Shagari issued an executive order regarding Green Revolution, which became mandatory on all the state governors to queue in. And they did it, and we succeeded in becoming a #1 bumper production nation on the world, especially within the sub-Saharan African area. Apart from that, if you remember, even during President Babangida, we had executive order that brought about the structural adjustment programs. We have these things, they are not even new in our own setting. So what we want is national interest to override any other primordial consideration.
Yes.
Even if you are talking about issue of political interest, sections 221, 222, down to 227 of the Constitution clearly talks about the need for you to respect the constituted superiority of the constitutional order as the basis upon which you drive your own legitimacy for those under you to give you obedience and followership.
I remember we were used to secretary to the federal government, and now he's secretary to the government of the Federation.
Yes, yes.
So this tallies well with what you people are saying.
Yes.
Federalism and Nigeria's three-tier of governance with executive orders and what have you. What is the way forward in order to have a functional democracy for the people? Just 1 minute, please.
The way forward is that every arm of government must be allowed to do what it is expected to under the Constitution. Every tier of government at the state level is expected to respect the other and operate in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Execute the powers given to you in the Constitution. Nobody is to decide the powers of the other. And when for so long another person, another arm of government kidnaps or interferes in the affairs and the functions of the other arm of government, the president, on whose head and whose name is shouted at everything that is wrong, even if it is not within his exclusive powers, even if it is a matter for the state, even if it's a matter for local government, even if it's a matter for a councillor or a ward, even if it's a matter for a local government chairman, even if it's a matter for a House of Assembly member, even if it's a matter that a commissioner can handle. But they say President Buhari, he owes a duty to stand up and be the Buhari by saying, I swore to protect and defend the Constitution, I swore to uphold the Constitution, I swore to defend all of you, and this is what should happen so that all of you will be protected according to law, and accordingly has issued Executive Order 10. Every person abide by the Constitution.
Yes, if we want really to get it right, then everybody holding political office, whether elected or appointed, you must calibrate the dictum of his qualification regarding patriotism, discipline, national interest, cohesion, and above all, competence before we go into that. So long we neglect this very short advice, we'll never get it right politically. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mainasara Kogo Umar, for sharing with us your years of experience on these matters, and thank you, distinguished Senator. You know, the grassroots senator, we call it. Yes, but now at the State House.
Oh, yes. By God's grace, and the grace of Mr. President.
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
We are always happy to have you in our studio.
Thank you very much.
Well, that has been moment for thought. I remember in the address, that is the inaugural address of Mr. President, we continue to make reference to that. When he said we had an opportunity, let's use it collectively, with responsibility, as they said. And we hope we will continue so that we have the functional democracy that will yield functional development for the people. Thank you for watching. I am Aliyu Baba Barrow. Goodbye. Thank you.